Hello guys, and welcome to a new Warno video today by me, Vulcan. In this one I have for you a 1 versus 1 on 2 ways, and I'm going to be playing with the 11th Parachustiste. I'm up against Lotriy, who is going to be playing with the 1st UK Armoured Division, and this is round 1 of the 2nd Warno League Super Tournament, ran by Prodos and the Simulated Divisions League. So I finally decided to dip my toes back into the competitive side of Warno, and I joined this 32 player tournament. It's single elimination, and this first round is best of 1. So basically what I need to do is win this game in order to move on in the tournament to the round of 16, or I lose and that's the end of the tournament for me, basically. So I've ended up on the 11th Parachustiste. There was picks and bans. I got 1 ban because I was technically player 1, and I banned Berliner Gruppierung, and Lotriy decided to ban the 5th French and the 7th Panzer. So I ended up picking the 11th after he picked the 1st Armoured. Now currently the UK anti-air is kind of unreliable, so that's one reason why I picked the 11th. Also, I really just enjoy playing the 11th. So yeah, Mirage F1C out of the start. It's not really going to spot anything. It doesn't have good enough air optics really to spot for itself, particularly like helicopters and stuff, but I've got it flying around here, try and tease an aircraft out of him maybe so that I can double up with my fighters and take it down early on, because the main thing that I'm going to want to do throughout the game is really shut down his air-to-air fighters, like his tornadoes. Those are going to be the main threat to my aircraft throughout this game. You can see I've also spread out a bunch of these AML-90 Lynxes, and they're already taking shots here at a rover. I'm going to come in there and strafe it as well with the F1C. On the left hand side I did go for a dive into his sector. Because he's playing the 1st UK Armoured, he doesn't get much in the way of forward deployment, so I'm able to take advantage of the advanced deployment of the Sapper Para and the Legionnaire Para and the Group Antichar Para in this case. And we're going to start engaging the SAS patrol on that left hand side. AML-90 Lynx just going to be charging up the mid and getting some infantry in position here. And on the right hand side, put some defensive forces, Chasseur Para, Group Antichar and the Sapper Para Flam. And you can see that my AML-90s are going on the flank around the right hand side there. I've got one to cover the main road here. P4PC coming in to capture the sectors early on. And I've gone for 2 leaders. So I've got one captured Golf, went to Delta, and I had one that went to Foxtrot, is now moving into Charlie to cap that. So I'm just trying to get as many points on the board as I can early on in order to make it difficult for him to come back in the late game, because the biggest thing that can really affect me in this game is if it drags on for like the full 40 minutes, and then it gives him a real good chance to come back, because he'll start amassing a large amount of APCs and heavy armor that I can't really counter easily unless he runs into my infantry. So just got to try and get the better of him as fast as I can early on. Now my AML-90 Lynx, they're going to go down, but I did manage to take out his SAS patrol here. On the left hand side you can see I've got a decent position in the town, but I'm still being sniped by the SAS patrol from this building, so I'm going to have to move further to the left. AML-90 currently sneaking around the left hand side. He's decided to bring in some assault pioneers to challenge my infantry in this left town. Currently Chieftain Mark 9 moving up here, and my AML-90 going to move into position to try and get a cheeky side shot. Unfortunately, the accuracy on the main gun of this thing is not very reliable, and you can see even at this range, it's not hitting the mark. I don't manage to reverse out of range in time, and the Chieftain Mark 9 is just going to take it out. So what Lotri's doing here is he's trying to avoid any places where my infantry are with his tanks, and so he's decided to try and push through the center here between this infantry and this infantry in order to make ground and maybe put some pressure onto Foxtrot. But currently I'm sitting pretty with a +5. He didn't bring in a leader for Echo, he most likely brought in the leader for Bravo and Alpha at the start. So now I'm trying to get my Sapper Para to deal damage to these assault pioneers. Satchels have been nerfed recently, so they are quite long in their reload time. which makes the flamethrowers actually stand up to them pretty well, and you can see that they are fighting for a decent amount of time here. My Legionnaire Para also very elite, so able to fight out in this situation. The main problem, of course, for me right now is the Chieftains providing fire support, but I've got the F1C coming in for a little strafing run onto the Assault Pioneers, Cluster Jaguar coming in for the strike onto the Command Chieftain there. Now this is what I like to see, the Gazelle AH-1s coming in. It is the perfect target for the F-1C. My cluster aircraft did get shot down, but it killed an expensive chieftain, so I'm not too sad about that trade. My F-1C here is going to clean house with these Gazelles. There you go, that's one down, and he's going to sweep around and come back for another. Let's follow him round. Flying over the town there. Very cool. Rapier firing a missile and missing. And this is something that is kind of awkward with the Rapiers at the moment, is they aren't the most reliable AA. And you'll see that being the case again there, as they miss another 2 rockets. 3, 4 rockets out of those track Rapiers. The main thing right now is I'm a little bit worried that the Sapper Pala here are going to be spotted by the Gazelle AH-1. So you can see I brought in another F-1C to engage that, a third F-1C even, to go for the Gazelle AH-1 further back. And I am going to lose one of the F-1Cs by keeping it over the AA for just a little bit too long. Of course, I'm like trying my luck here big time. And I'm also kind of hoping that I'm going to make him run out of ammo on these track Rapiers at some point, because he has fired a lot of missiles, and if he just leaves his Chieftain and other units here completely exposed because he didn't bring any supply for his AA, that's something I can really exploit. But another F-1C going down there, so maybe got a little bit overzealous. You can see that I have, however, brought in a anti-tank unit back here. The anti-char with the 2 Apalas, going to make short work of that Chieftain Mark 9. I saw the armor obviously pushing through my open gap here into this sort of salient, and so this was there to ambush them as they came through, and it did the job. I've also got another one here that's looking to do a similar thing, and you can see I'm now bringing in more reinforcements. Now at this point in the game, because I was so busy microing all of the aircraft, I did actually end up floating quite a lot of points. In my practice, I was actually doing a lot better with this, but basically the idea is, whilst I am harassing him with aircraft and kind of getting my infantry into good positions early on, I do want to be continuously bringing up more and more infantry so that I can start maybe putting an infantry unit up the right hand side here, one through the trees here, one maybe unload here and run up to this sector or something. Just kind of be as annoying as possible with all of my infantry so that he constantly has to deal with threats in his backline rather than pushing into the sectors that I already have secure. So you can see we have got to 911 points as he has now counteracted my initial advantage. My Legionnaire Pala does manage to get the Apalas onto the Chieftain Mark 9 there, but I ran out of ammunition, so unfortunately these Legionnaire Pala not long for this world. Jaguar coming in was supposed to provide rocket support for those Legionnaires, but a little bit too late there, unfortunately. Gazelle Cannon now looking to cover off the Gurup Antichar. And I've got a Puma, as you can see, moving up on the left-hand side. Now, after the engagement with the Assault Pioneers here, both of my Sapper Para, they made it out with 1 man apiece. And that's going to allow me to pretty much fully replenish these squads to max health, which is awesome. So I've got the Puma coming along, I've got the VLRA logistics truck there, and that's kind of just going to be a halfway house for this supply so that I can get it onto the Legionnaire Pala and stuff without having them too close together. Legionnaire Pala also coming up here to sit in this building because I'm a bit worried about all these other units in the center area here that are flanking me. They've got the scimitars running around all over the place, and that's obviously not what we need. In this case, my unit is going to get spotted by the scimitars, Not ideal for me. I'm going to start to try and run away, but a little bit too late. If I'd done that a bit earlier, I could have maintained more men and made this a much more threatening squad. Now there's only one man left. It's going to take a little bit of machine gun fire to kill that off. And that means that things like the Chieftain Mark 9 and the scimitars will be fine. And the anti-child there, see, didn't do the job because it was sort of pinned and lost its cohesion, which reduced its accuracy. So now my Sapper Para, they don't have any AT, just an 8-man squad with FAMAS. So yeah, they are soon to be ran down, and the rest of my infantry here are going to be moving back up to try and threaten this area. You can see on the left hand side the leader coming in here did manage to cap this, so whilst he has capped the center of Charlie, you know, I did get the full cap on Alpha and extend my lead a little bit. He's now counter capped this left hand side but completely controls the middle, so he's actually at a +1 and starting to count things back, which will give him a victory in 50 minutes. But bear in mind we've only got 30 minutes left on the clock. Finally, my leader in the middle is going to get spotted and killed off. Legionnaire Para now moving up, and the Antitar getting into position to try and kill this Chieftain Mark 9. So I've got a nice sort of local superiority here between my infantry. You see the Sapper Para now back to full strength. Next to the leader they have 3 vet. The Legionnaire Para doing well there, and the Group Antitar also, well, not quite benefiting from the extra veterancy just yet. So now the Scimitar's coming up. We're going to take out one with the Appalachian. I'm going to have to fall back, try and get to a point where when the Scimitars drive by they are in range. So there goes the first. So another change that has been made to the game recently is that infantry AT causes more suppression to vehicles, and you can see that when I killed the Scimitar next to the other Scimitar, it caused it to completely lose cohesion. Now I've got another secret weapon of the 11E coming up, all of the ERC-90 Sages. Nice squad of them. Lynx AH-7 Hellarm coming in on the left hand side was looking for my command vehicle. Also there was a Gazelle Recon that I managed to take out with that, but Tornado F3 going to be coming in here and gets behind my F1C. Track Rapier intercepts the F1C, and look at that. Unfortunate for me, my Puma was too close to my leader, and when it exploded it took out my leader in the sector, so kind of a bit of self-sabotage there, letting me down by putting my supply too close. That little strafe from the Tornado made such a big difference there. So this squad did its job killing the Chieftain Mark 9. These Chieftain Mark 9s, they're not cheap, 160 points. If you compare that to my infantry squad there, it's 60 points. So whenever you see one of these Appalachian squads taking out a Chieftain Mark 9 or even the Scimitars, they are paying themselves off quite nicely, which is really, really difficult for Lotriy to deal with over time. Also, these Legionnaire Para can combat those rifles quite well because they are so elite. So that's also helping a lot. Now we got the ERC-90s engaging the Chieftain Mark 9s in this case. Both of them going to miss at very close range. They do have 50% accuracy. I do manage to finally kill that Chieftain Mark 9. These are only worth 80 points, so they are doubling up if they kill a Chieftain. Now Lotriy really committing a lot into the pushback here. The Assault Pioneer is going to try and clear out that town. And at this point I basically decided that I was going to let that go. I don't need that position anymore. It's going to be very unlikely that I'm going to be able to get another command back in there, especially with the amount of the infantry that he has committed to that side. So the best thing for me to do at this point is not contest it. Just let his infantry sit there, let all of those points be wasted on nothing, and then focus elsewhere. So you can see that my ERC-90s are swinging from left to right. They're going to try and kill as much stuff as possible here, taking out the Rover Milans, trying to take out the Track Rapiers, killing off the Chieftain Mark 9s, and this is so much value for all of these ERC-90s, exactly what they're here for. Meanwhile, the Legionnaire Para, they used up all their Appalachian doing damage, and I've got a P4 PC that's drove over this mountain and is going to be trying to contest in the side of this sector. I'm going to poke it in there, see if he has a leader inside the sector still. If he doesn't, I'll just cap that for myself. Thank you very much. Legionnaire Para going to try and move up in the meantime. I held that back for a moment because I didn't want the Bedford to spot it. And I've got more infantry on the way to support it anyway, so there's no real rush for me to get in there. I've also got another infantry here that's going to be joining them shortly. This P4PC, I decided to send that up on the right hand side. Since I have this sort of position in the front of the town, I'm going to be able to see if he tries to put any commands in here to contest this. So I don't really need the command to stay in the sector. I can try and move it up with the Legionnaire Para and try and get it into the backside. Tornado F3 in the meanwhile comes in, does take out the Gazelle cannon. I'm going to bring in the Mirage 2000 and the Mirage F1C to try and get on the back of that, but a little bit too late on my part. And he's currently taking a +3, so I can't let him do this forever, of course. The P4PC will move in eventually. I'm just kind of waiting for the reinforcements of this infantry. And going to start to bring in even more reinforcements in the form of more of these ERC-90 Sages. I've got the Sapper Para here, you can see moving up on the right hand side. So F1C takes out that helicopter, allows the Legionnaire Para to move forwards unmolested, and going to be looking for the Lynx AH7 kill there shortly as well. Now, since this Legionnaire Para has got into a good position, I'm going to be able to target his Bedford. Nice unload though from Lotriy, doesn't let that go down easy. Take out the Lynx AH7 Hellam on the left hand side, take out the one on the right hand side at the same time. The 2000 actually getting away from all of the AA, and the F3 coming in for this F1C. Hoping to get a missile on target, and does indeed. These tornadoes are very scary, and that's why I was saying it's such a priority for me to shoot them down. They're also very sexy aircraft. So those infantry did unload, but they are assault pioneers, and they're up against the most elite French infantry. You see the difference in chevrons here. He's only got 1 chevron, I've got 3. So getting a lot of work done. The veterancy between infantry does make a massive difference in these sorts of engagements, and you can see that, you know, even though he's in the trees there, I'm going to be able to chip him down. I'm also obviously outnumbering him quite significantly, so that definitely helps as well. At this point, I definitely could have moved in the P4PC sooner. Like as soon as the Legionnaire Para are moving across here unmolested, and the Chasseur Para are getting to the other side of the sector, the P4PC should be fine to just shimmy in there. You can see I have brought in a P4PC on the left hand side as well now. That's because the Group Antichar and the Legionnaire Para, I managed to keep both of those alive. Both the Sapper Para died here, but those two survived. And that means that I can maybe sneak into the backside of that sector at some point if needs be. Now move the P4PC in, that's going to contest. And it is going to take away the +3 briefly. But by moving in on the side there, it did kind of give away where that position is. So I can't really stay there long term. I was kind of hoping that with my Legionnaire Para moving into the backside of the sector here, that I'd be able to get away with capping the entire sector for myself. But with the Chieftain coming in on the left hand side there, it kind of put a stop to my plans. Assault Pioneers have spotted my Legionnaire Para on the backside. As long as I can keep the engagement out in the open like this, the Legionnaire Para should make short work of the Assault Pioneers, as they have done in the back of this sector. So that's what I was kind of counting on, and you can see that 2 of these squads, well, one of them's already been cut down quite a lot. This one's coming in at half strength, and this one's the only full strength one that I've got to deal with after that. Chasseur Para here, getting a lovely side shot into the Chieftain Mark 9. Chieftain in trouble, but does pop its smoke. Going to be able to get away from that AT for the time being. I was going to try and sneak forwards these Legionnaire Para, but I completely forgot that they didn't have any Appalachian ammo left. I'm going to have to make sure I bring in some supply to get them back to full strength, and also give them ammunition back. So Legionnaire Para here are trying to hold against 3 units of Assault Pioneers. On the backside, Legionnaire Pala taking care of the Assault Pioneers with the Kargurat. And this Chasseur Pala, it was a valiant attempt, but eventually went down. Gazelle Cannon getting fired at by some Manpads there, but look at this Chasseur Pala, finds the Track Rapier on the backside. That's very handy, and also going to be able to shoot the Chieftain Mark 9 some more. Now the Jaguar coming in with the Cluster Strike onto this tree line, hoping to kill off the Chieftain Mark 10 there, so that my P4PC can move back into the sector and recapture it. You can see meanwhile the ERC-90s are going to charge forwards after that strike and try and take advantage of any damaged vehicles that are left in that tree line, as well as this Chieftain Mark 9 that's trying to retreat. So going to be able to take out the Bedford, looking to take out the Chieftain Mark 9. Legionnaire Pala up here, look how well they've done against the Assault Pioneers. Again here, Legionnaire Pala going to be able to deal with Assault Pioneers. And this is one problem that the First UK really has, is their kind of lack of decent infantry in these sorts of situations. This poor Mirage gonna get absolutely deleted by AA. Obviously at this point I have shown a lot of aircraft, so it makes sense that Lotriy has invested in a lot of anti-air. And it does start to pay off. Harrier GR3 also coming in for a bombing strike there, because I have barely any, well, actually none, of my own AA. No Mistrals, none of that. Now, the reason I haven't really invested in Mistrals or my own AA is because I'm so deep in enemy lines, and it's very difficult to resupply your units in enemy lines, and inevitably my AA will run out of ammunition, making them like ineffective. So I'm going to try and avoid that as much as possible by just investing into infantry and then using my aircraft to provide my anti-air. So I know that here's Chieftains down here, and you can see that I have got this double Appalachian squad ready to go and hunt it down. As soon as that's dead, I can move the P4PC back in, but you can see the score is getting closer and closer, which is obviously not good. And the longer this game goes, the more I'm worried that he's going to be able to bring it back. Bombing strikes coming in now from the Harrier GR3s. Sorry, just trying to zoom in on them there as they go out of line of sight. And that did kill off two of my Chasseur Pala, the other one going to be running for the hills. Meanwhile, Chieftain Mark 11 gets caught out by the Group Antichar, and the ERC-90 Sages going to be moving in to support this engagement with its machine gun and main gun. Chasseur Pala also moving across as well there. With the Chieftain dead, P4PC can move in and capture that nicely. Meanwhile, on the backside here, you can see I have brought in some aeromobiles. I dropped off like a Puma here and ran them up to join my Legionnaire Pala that have already got into the backside of the sector. I did manage to kill a Challenger 2 here with another of my anti-tank squads. So we're really getting good value out of our infantry that's managed to kind of penetrate his back line. And now it's going to be very difficult for him to get more leaders into these sectors because I have all of these units already in position. So my P4PC are going to go over this hill and going to try and get into position in this sector around where my Legionnaire Pala are so that it can be protected. Meanwhile, Chasseur Pala going to be cleaning up the infantry on the backside here. P4PC, you can see, did capture this sector. Also, Legionnaire Pala now going to be putting damage onto the Challenger Mark II. And the Challenger Mark IIs at this point are kind of really difficult for him to use because he hasn't really got the support network for them. Challenger 2s can be super scary, but I'm not really giving him any targets. The ERC-90 Sages are probably the only armoured target that I've given him so far. Otherwise, it's entirely infantry, making a lot of his deck very ineffective. And his Assault Pioneers really weren't doing the trick. You can see that they are losing now to the Aeromobiles. I've also got a couple of ERC-90 Sages sneaking up on the right-hand side to help me deal with the Chieftain Mark 9 and the Tracked Rapier. So constantly putting pressure on his backline exactly as a parachute division should. Challenger 2 going down here to the Legionnaire Pala. Now going to try and team up on the rifles and maybe take out the Rover CP, which I managed to do. And that's another of his commanders taken out. So again, with that dead, going to move in the P4PC. cap it, move back out again. That way it makes it very difficult for him to airstrike it. If I leave it in the sector, it's going to be quite obvious where it is, somewhere along this tree line. Lot 2 goes down the right hand side. I kind of just had that there to potentially threaten the Chieftain Mark 9, but I finally go for the play into the back line. The P4 PC moving in here, going to be capping this sector entirely. I've full capped the center sector as well, so we're actually pushing to a +7, which gives me 2 minutes to victory. And the Chieftain Mark 9 going to get baited perfectly past the Aeromobiles, and I take it out there with the Appalachian. So the P4 PC going to survive. I realise there's some Assault Pioneers with the Carl Gustav ready to go. I'm pretty sure, did I say Carl Godat? I'm pretty sure I've said that this game. I always do it, guys. Imagine if those Assault Pioneers had Carl Godats. You know, it's a classic 600mm just on their shoulders. But regardless, we're going to take out the Track Rapier finally. The Chieftain's down. The Assault Pioneer's got to go. I've capped this, ran away with the P4 PC in the meantime. And so now he's just got to try and get a command back in here ASAP. He's also got to get one into the middle, otherwise he's going to lose. I've also set up the P4 PC on the left hand side so that I can shift that into this sector, and you can see that's what I'm going to do now as well. Just kind of go for the throat now. I've got some helicopters coming in, the Gazelle cannons to try and clean up some infantry in the middle, as well as the Aeromobiles that are going to be coming in and landing. So just kind of finishing the job, making it very, very difficult for him to cap back. This infantry, it does now like die if it crashes in the helicopter, so you do have to be a little bit careful, but I managed to get that one unloaded. And you can see that I full capped the left one. It's going to go to a +9 briefly. He does manage to recap the right one, but we've got more air engagements going on. Mirage looking for the Jaguar there, but ran out of long-range missiles. Another Rover CP going down, as I think the Legionnaire Para found that on the backside. And yeah, just cutting off his reinforcements, being really, really irritating in the backline, forced him to make some like overextending plays, which I eventually managed to break down. And yeah, ultimately just a really nice airborne victory. And that's it. That is game. And we take victory and win and get through round 1 of the second Warno League Super Tournament. 5,085 kills, 5,075 losses in the end. You can see that his kills were less because I team killed my own command with the with the Puma Logi. But yeah, a great game, and you can see that how close the kills and losses were. But my backline play there with all of the infantry must have been so frustrating for him to deal with. So I think we played it pretty well in the end. I was a little bit rusty to begin with, definitely floated quite a lot of points throughout the game, but managed to do what I needed to do with the division, avoid his armor, ambush the rest, and yeah, worked out. So that's it. Look forward to more games from this tournament in the future. That's it for now. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.